Welcome to The Potential, a show where we talk about topics that early career designers care about. And today we're going to be talking about what we care as hiring managers when we're looking for new designers. So, Sharzad, to start us off, maybe you can share your background about what kind of experience you have in hiring.
Yeah, it's a great question. I've been working for about 20, 22 years, and I think I hired my first person around 2006. So help me on the
Oh,
math on
wow.
this. Designers are not great at math. That was, what,
11?
15
No,
years ago?
15
11
years
years
ago.
ago?
Yeah, 16. 16 years
Um,
ago.
yeah, we're here to tell you that math will not hold you back in your career. So, yeah, when I first started hiring, it was at a startup and we needed someone. And I was just like screening resumes that I found and kind of winging it completely to figure out how to hire. And over the course of my career, it kind of only went up from there. I got a lot more understanding of what to look for and a lot more structure around hiring effectively. But that first hire still stands out to me. I think I still look for the same things today as I looked for then in a lot of ways.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and my first hire turned out great. So I think it really set the standard for me for what a great hire is.
Nice. How many people have you hired since then? I mean, you've been at multiple different companies, but.
I've worked at a lot of companies where teams were really lean. So I haven't hired that many people, maybe 30, really pretty small number relative to, I think, especially relative to people who work in big companies. So yeah, pretty small number, but uh, definitely a lot of care and thought goes into every single hire, right? How about you? I
Yeah,
remember you
yeah.
saying you had hired a lot of people. What
No,
was
I
your first hire and
interviewed a
what's your
lot.
background?
I
Okay.
interviewed
Okay.
a lot. So prior to my job now, I was at Amazon and I did about 350 interviews. But I
Oh
only
my
like,
God.
but that was for part of it was for my team. But they have this program called the Bar Raiser program where they have an objective third party participate in the interviews, and I mostly participate in design reviews or design interviews for other teams. So for that, I help hire people into Amazon. But for my own team, how many people did I hire there? Maybe like 10 ish, something like that.
That's a
Oh, at
lot for one
Amazon. And then
team.
yeah, I hired, oh, that was for a couple different teams that I was on. But I hired for, yeah, other places I've been also. But not that long though, probably like 12 years ago. I think the first person that we brought was a contractor for the agency that I started with my friend. That was fun.
Nice. Wait, so you had to hire someone for a company you were responsible for. How did that go?
Yeah. It was a contractor, so it was a short term thing. But I think when it comes to hiring, there is different things that I look for in different types of roles. I mean, you must too. So whether it's like, I think you've hired an intern, right? I've never hired an intern before, but the things that I would imagine hiring an intern is probably similar to hiring a contractor, I think, because it's really low risk because it's only for a temporary amount of time. And if it's not working out, it's just like, hey, sorry, it's not working out. And you can kind of cut ties because that's what the contract says. Whereas full time, you're pretty committed. So it's a lot higher risk. So the interview process is a lot longer.
Yeah, that makes sense. That totally makes sense. I hearing you say it, I'm like, oh, of course. I'd never put that into words before. I kind of went into hiring interns, contractors, full-time people with the same level of rigor and anxiety. But you're right that really, in theory, interns and contractors should be less effort.
Oh, is it because the internships that you hired for, it's like a intern to hire model?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
that's
And the contractors too.
a lot more commitment.
Con-
Really? Oh,
yeah.
interesting.
Yep. Yeah. The contractors were always like, if this person doesn't work out, it's okay. And also, if they do work out, you get a great backdoor in to hire this person. So it always felt a little more high stakes, but I don't think that always served me to approach all of them that high stakes.
That's interesting. Yeah, I guess in the back of my mind, I keep that in mind that where there might be a hire. And we had a couple of contractors that became hires at Amazon, but they went to for a different team. Like they kind of
Yeah.
proved themselves in our team, and then we didn't have a role open, another team would. So when they applied, they can still reference me and other team members because they worked with us. And that other hiring manager could reach out to us and be like, hey, how was this person? And we'd be like, they're fantastic. we don't have a role, so we can't hire them, but I would take them in a heartbeat. So it does help to kind of get in, I guess, through the contract way too.
Yeah. I'm curious, do you remember your first hire?
My first hire, I don't. Well, I remember. I think she was the first hire. There was a hire that I had, and I think it talks to kind of the, like you said, like throughout the years, you kind of did it the same way. My approach has been, if I believe they can do the job, and then the bar for early career designer for me in terms of skill sets, I think it's pretty low. So in this case, I was at a startup, and there was somebody that I met in customer service. So they basically answer customer questions, and then they just help them out. So they're not a UX designer or anything, but this person had studied design, like physical product design, and she'd kind of dabbled and studied UX design. But her product design stuff was actually quite good and really well thought out and really, really creative. But she couldn't find a job in it, so she worked in customer service for a long time. But she was interested in UX, so I was like, why don't you just join our team then? We have a role open. So it was one of those situations where she was applying to different places, I think, for a year trying to get design jobs. But just coincidentally, it was just like she worked at the same company. She knows the product like the back of her hand, right? So I'm like, well, you're already thinking like a designer. I mean, like your thinking is what a designer would do, except she doesn't have the tools of, I guess now it's like Figma or whatever, right? Or like, but she knows some
Photoshop.
Adobe products, right? So it's like, just learn the tools and you're good. And it doesn't
Yeah.
take that long to like learn software. So anyway, I think the things that I'm looking for is the technical stuff. You can just, anybody can learn. The thinking takes a lot longer to learn. So it's a little bit more difficult to teach. But if they're like a sponge and if they're coachable, that is the top criteria for me for an early career designer. Do you have
That's
something like a, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it's actually really similar for me. So my first hire was a content designer,
Hmm.
and she was this incredibly genuine, very sincere, very hardworking person who had her previous job was as, I'm trying to remember the details, but it was maybe like an admin type of job. And she did all of this extra work to kind of produce her own portfolio. She was like, look, I really can do this job. I will work hard. Here's the passion that I have for this role, and produced this like beautiful portfolio. And she didn't have the work experience, but she clearly knew how to make great deliverables. And she had so much just love and for what she did and so much enthusiasm to learn more. She was one of my best hires and she thrived. She went on to become such a successful person. And I think that level of just ability and desire to work hard and go above and beyond to better herself, that really served her well through her career. And I really still look for that when I think about early career designers is your heart in it? Do you want to learn? And can you demonstrate that you have learned? Because anyone can show up and say, like, oh, I'm here to learn and I'm
Mm,
going to work
yeah.
hard. But people who really want to learn and who are willing to grow, they tend to stand out.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think that's probably the difficulty being a hiring manager is, can I figure out if this person is really willing to learn and does want to grow versus people who just, there's a lot of people that say they want to grow. I mean, actions speak louder than words. If you can prove to me with some actions you've taken in the past, then way more likely to get hired.
100%. So when you think about folks that you've hired, what stands out to you for early career designers? What's really kind of blown you away and made you want to hire someone?
So I think the examples that come to mind, they weren't early career designers, but it's definitely like a way that they stood out. So an example is one designer. She's phenomenal designer, but well, there's no but, period. And when we did the whiteboard exercise, and I love whiteboard exercises, I think it shows like how they're thinking, how they're approaching it, and the way that I do it, it's unrelated to the company. So it's just about how they're thinking about problems. And usually people, when they do like a user journey or something like that, they'll start with the beginning and then they work forward to, this is what the journey would be and how they would solve the user problem. Another way to do it is, okay, here's the end point, here's the goal that we want the user to achieve, and then working back through the steps of how they do it. And this person started in the middle. I was like, what? Just she didn't start in the beginning. What? And so she goes out from the middle, and I was like, that is so different. So it wasn't right or wrong necessarily, right? Like starting from the beginning, starting from the end, neither of them are wrong. But starting from the middle is also not wrong. But I just never seen it before. So I don't know if she did it on purpose or not. But I think it's because she was thinking about both ends at the same time. So she started in the middle. And then, well, she already knows what the beginning is going to be like. She already knows what the end's going to be like. So let's just start in the middle and just like blow it out. I was like really, really pleasantly surprised because it was so unique. And then because I'm doing so many interviews, I'm kind of like, okay, yeah, asking some questions. But if someone does something just out of the box different, I'm going to definitely lean forward and be like, what are you doing? What? And then pay attention a little bit more. So I think that got her through. And
It sounds like she
yeah,
was an individual. Like she really brought herself to the exercise. Like she wasn't
yeah,
trying to do the right thing. She was just genuinely trying to solve the problem with you, which
yeah,
is actually special.
yeah. So being able to pick some of those things out, I like to think that's a strength of mine. But being able to really listen in and see how are they solving the problem, and how is it different than the hundreds of other candidates that I've seen before. So I have another example where a candidate showed the recipe page for a client. It's like a kind of like grocery client, I guess we can say. She was creating a recipe page, and it was like a photo of a pie. She was doing the creative direction for the photos. So she owned what that photograph looked like, but the target was moms. And so the pie was burnt a little bit. There were crumbs on the counter. It was beautifully shot, professionally shot, but the pie wasn't perfect. And to think about design to that level of detail, I was like, oh, you know what? This person thinks about every little detail to that extent. That means she's going to think about the radius of a button. She's going to read and proofread every single line of text. She's not going to miss a thing if she's thinking about it to that level of detail. And my assumptions of that was 100% correct. Because when we hired her, she was super meticulous and phenomenal designer, super detail oriented.
It's such a creative touch and such a user centric touch, actually, too, to really think about how to connect best with your users. That's really special.
Yeah. And I think with every hire that I've ever made, I remember their portfolio and the exact thing that I saw that just defined it for me on what this
Wow.
person's good at.
That's so interesting. I definitely do not have that kind of photographic recall of people's portfolios, but I do remember a lot of moments that won me over. I have a similar story. It was about a early career designer, and she was showing her portfolio, and her portfolio was really schoolwork and then an internship. And she talked me through her schoolwork, and it was like, yeah, like schoolwork, I've seen it a million times. It's the same 5 projects. Like
Yeah.
it was good, it was competent. And then she showed me her work from her internship. And the work was sort of 2 sections, and one of them was, this is what I was supposed to be doing for my internship. And then the second section was, I didn't think that was a good idea. So here's the work I pitched that I thought was a better
Yes, that's
idea.
so good.
It was amazing. And she didn't just like do it and put it in her portfolio. She also had stories around the way that she got people to buy into it and the way that she got people to work on it with her. And she actually ended up getting an A B test of her idea into the product that they were building. And so she pitched this and made it happen as part of her internship. And I think her idea ended up getting tweaked a bunch of times, but they did end up moving forward with the direction of her idea. That wasn't what she was supposed to be doing. And I just thought that showed so much creative confidence and thoughtfulness, and also willingness to say no and sort of stand out and push for something different. To do that as an early career designer, but to do it in a way that's collaborative and brings people along with you and ends up getting buy-in, that is amazing. And she was also such a great hire. Yeah, she was a great hire, and I think about that a lot too.
Yeah, that's super mature for where they're at. That reminded me another person too that it wasn't a pushback thing, but they had finished a boot camp and then they wanted me to review the work. And the work was like any other kind of thing that comes out of a boot camp. It was pretty straightforward. And they were trying to just show that work. But then the second time that we met, I saw her whole body of work, and she had huge body of work doing illustration that she just liked doing. It wasn't for
Oh,
clients.
wow.
It wasn't for anything. But they were really good. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? You got to showcase that and integrate that into your designs. Like, draw the illustration. Imagine like the typical marketing website or something that you're doing for school. But then the illustrations are all yours. All the icons are yours, right? Then she can be like, oh yeah, I did the design. Oh, and by the way, I did all of the illustrations. That's where the hiring manager is going, what? That's like really, really good. Wow. And then, yeah, that advice really helped because she was able to get hired at like a pretty big company.
Yeah, I feel like what we're really saying is, if there are certain strengths that you have, lean into them. If you're a great
Yeah.
illustrator, if you're very persuasive, if are really good at unconventional work in some way, do more of that and make sure the hiring manager knows that you're doing it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially in the beginning, yeah, early career. I think everybody has some kind of strength. It's probably not design though. I feel like I don't think I've ever hired an early career designer based on skills. Sorry, I shouldn't laugh, but I just they're all kind of about the same. I don't think I've ever been just blown out of the water. There's plenty of principal level people that I'm just like, wow, this is stuff that it's beyond my own capabilities. So yes, I want to hire you. But in terms of the early career, it's kind of similar. So if there's something else on top of that or different within it, different way of thinking. Yeah, there's a lot of different
Yeah.
opportunities for that.
So I actually hire a lot of transition designers. I hire designers who are early career in design, but they're not early career in their careers. So they were
Okay.
doing marketing or they were doing teaching or they were doing, yeah, just all different kinds of work. And then they decided to transition to design. I love hiring those folks. And I love hiring them because while they may be early career designers and their technical skills are not up to par necessarily, their ability to do all the other stuff is so high. They're really good at negotiating. They're really good at collaborating. They're really good at communicating. They're really good at all of these skill sets that are part of design, but not necessarily, the soft skills or the hard skills. And so they have the soft skills and then they just need to learn the hard skills. So I love hiring those folks because like you said earlier, technical skills, people can pick them up if they're willing to.
Okay. So with all those transition designers, there's a lot of people entering the UX field. How did those hires stand out? And well, I guess the question is how should they? Or should they stand out?
It's a great question, actually, because there's certainly an argument in favor of, being safe, playing it safe, middle of the road, be a good, competent candidate, and try and spread your resume to as many people as possible, and increase your chances, and try to get ahead that way, or try to get an opportunity that way. I think that works for some people. Certainly, like it's a brute force way of doing it. My personal philosophy and what stands out for me is I think candidates should try to stand out, but they should try to stand out in a way that's authentic to them. Like
Mm,
the example you gave of the person who is a great illustrator, like that is cool and interesting. And putting that front and center in the work is a great way of standing out in a way that's very genuine and very true to your skill set. So when I think about designers who are transitioning into the field, really, I want to see them leveraging their past skills. I want to see them telling a story about how they found UX and how they realized that product marketing actually had a lot in common with UX and they were bringing those skills to the table. People who can tell those stories, they stand out, even though they might not have the same kind of technical skills as like a trained designer who always knew they wanted to do design and went straight into the field. How about
that's
you
a
when
good.
you think about? Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say that's really good. I would give the same recommendation because being yourself probably differentiates you because everybody's pretty different. So just by being yourself. Sometimes so we should talk about this at another time, but some people stand out in a bad way. There's definitely candidates that I was like, what do you do? This isn't good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So we
Stay
can talk
tuned
about,
for our video
yeah.
on red flags. We definitely have a red
That's
flags
right,
video coming
everyone.
your way.
10 things you
For
shouldn't do or something.
yeah,
There's
there's some
definitely
things we've
stuff.
seen.
Yeah. So, yeah, not a blanket standout is good, but I think, yeah, come as yourself. And if you get rejected, it's just not a good fit. I think you and I both probably went through that. Because I try to be myself in every one of my interviews. And if they don't want to hire me, like, I don't care. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
But the ones, I think if you can show your authentic self in a really kind of fabricated environment, what do we call it? Like an interview, this like fake environment. But then that's up to the hiring manager too. I think the skill set of the hiring manager, where like I worked pretty hard to try to create a comfortable environment so that I can understand who they are, their authentic self, and then do I want to work with this person? Is a team going to get along with this person? And then deciding from there. So
But let's be
practicing
real.
that.
There are lots of hiring managers who are going to be out there just screening for technical skills,
Yeah.
screening for are you the best cog in the machine? And that will happen. And so the risk with being yourself is you get rejected from those places. I always took that as a good thing. It was like filtering
Yeah.
out places that I didn't want to work. But for early career designers, like it is pretty scary to go out there and say, I'm not going to be for everyone and I'm going to have to get rejected. So I think
Yeah.
that's genuinely hard.
Yeah. That's true. You can be early career designer and just be phenomenal technically. I think there's a lot of people like that coming out of school, wherever. And they will get hired by the people looking for those technical skills. I think they're probably more at the agency level, probably, I want to say. Because, like, at an agency, you got to just crank stuff out. The clients
That's
need
true.
stuff, we got to crank it out. And the early career designers really work hard. So, and a lot of my friends have, I did, but it is like all nighters. So,
The sweatshop model, as I call it. It's just
does that
it's just
exist?
design
It's
sweatshop.
probably, I feel like
It's a
it's
good
like not
question.
like less acceptable now, but I don't know. I don't know too many people in agencies anymore. So,
I mean, all of them closed and sold, right? So
yeah.
closed
So,
and or sold.
and the ones that are left can charge like millions of dollars. So maybe they don't work all night long. Maybe they do have work life balance. I don't know. If you're an agency, please let us know.
Call us up. Let us know.
Yeah, who you hire. Yeah, a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about too, or that we're talking about, I think is in-house
Startups, small consulting
startups.
firms.
Yeah, and the reason I'm asking about the consulting stuff is it's been like maybe 7, 8 years since I worked in none. But the people that do get hired, it's typically like as the projects come in. So again, it's a lot less risk, but the technical skills are a lot more important than some of the softer skills and room to grow, I think. Can they pick something up in less than a week so they can hit the ground running? Whereas in a in-house corporate, I'd say like 2 months, 3 months, they
Yeah,
should be able
three to
people should be
six.
able to hit the ground running, something like that. So
Yeah. All right, great conversation, Co. I think we covered a lot of ground today, talking about our philosophies as hiring managers and giving a bit of advice and some stories for early career designers. And looking forward to recording that red flags video with you.
oh yeah, that's
So
gonna
stay
be
tuned for
good
it's gonna be
stuff.
fun. Stay tuned
All
for
right.
more content from us and talk to you soon.
Yeah, thanks everyone.